Hello, world. I'm back from the dead or vacation or something, and I'm here to review the all-new Microsoft Surface Pro 12-inch. I'm going to be taking a quick look at this today, particularly for students and small business owners in particular, as I think this would be a great product for that use case. If you've noticed that I have not been on the channel for a while, there's a variety of reasons for that. Life has been crazy, things have been complicated, but what I want you all to know is that doing a tech channel with only roughly 1,000 subscribers, and thank you all for that. It's really cool to have reached 1,000. Doing that by yourself, with no assistant, no crew members, no makeup and hairstyling, nothing, is extremely time consuming and difficult. And it's one of those things where financially it's very stressful and difficult because I'm not like other channels where Lenovo, Microsoft, HP are sending them computers. Hey, review the new ZBook or whatever. I don't get that benefit, so I have to buy or borrow everything I'm reviewing. And so, what I wanted to ask you, the channel subscribers, is would you support a Patreon if I created one? Because other than doing something like Patreon, it's going to be very difficult financially to support a channel that reviews technology. Even if the technology is inexpensive, the cost adds up. So let me know in the comments section if you would consider supporting a Patreon page if I created one. And in the meantime, consider checking out my books. I have my newest novel is called Hoop Drama. It is a contemporary drama. It is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's a link in the description. Okay, so this is the Surface Pro Copilot Plus PC 12 inches. It is the newest Microsoft Surface tablet device. That means it is a full Windows PC, but in a tablet form factor with a kickstand, as you can see. And this is the bluish purplish color. Microsoft calls it violet. In some lighting it does look purple, but in some it looks blue, and I would say it looks more blue than purple. So be aware of that if you were hoping for a purple computer. But overall, it's a very solidly built device. This is the entry-level option, quote unquote, in Microsoft's Surface Pro lineup. They have an OLED model that's bigger. They have a bunch of different models. Of course, they still have the Surface Laptop and a few other devices, but this is one of their entry-level devices. But what's unique about this is that for the past year or so, Microsoft has begun switching over to ARM-based chips. So this uses a Snapdragon X Plus CPU, which is an ARM-based CPU. It's not an x84 or 64-bit instruction set chip, and that means that it's going to be generally more efficient, more power efficient than the old Intel and AMD equivalent CPUs. So I do have some performance benchmarks, but what I can tell you up front is the performance is not mind-blowing, but it's not supposed to be. This is intended for people who work in an office, for students, for people who need light work done, maybe for casual artists as well, as it is a touchscreen that supports the pen display. So far as I can tell, there's no way to upgrade or replace the SSD or RAM or anything. As you probably know with ARM-based systems, whether it be a laptop or even in some cases a desktop, the CPU and the RAM and the storage in some cases will all be together on a unified chip and are not upgradable in any way, shape, or form. And because this is a very thin tablet, there's no upgradability. But in the past, Microsoft has allowed a little trap door in the back of the device underneath the hinge where you could theoretically upgrade or replace the SSD. It was a 2230. This device, as far as I can tell, does not use a removable SSD. Even if you were to peel the thing open, it does not seem that a removable SSD exists inside this product. It seems that everything is soldered down. So for the price of it depends on what the promotional pricing is. On promotion for about $8.99 or off promotion for about $10.99-ish, you can get this with the Snapdragon X Plus 8-core CPU and 16 gigs of RAM and a 512 gig SSD, and of course none of those are upgradable. The display is pretty solid, as you can see. It's a 3:2 aspect ratio touchscreen display which is my favorite aspect ratio for anything except for TVs, which don't need to be 3 by 2. It is a fairly good resolution. I believe it's about 218 pixels per inch. 2196 by 1464 max resolution display, which of course is a 3 by 2 aspect ratio. This device does not support HDR for the display because it is the lower end Surface Pro. If you get the Surface Pro, the larger one, or the one with the OLED screen, then it will support HDR out of the box. However, this display does support multi-touch and pen support and goes up to 90 hertz refresh rate, although be aware that out of the box, most likely it will be set to 60. So you will probably have to go into the Windows settings and make sure to set it to 90 hertz in order to get the 90 hertz. Another advertised feature is the variable refresh rate. The display can go between 24 and 90 hertz maximum. For battery saving, essentially, it will alter the refresh rate of the display in order to conserve battery when necessary. If you're watching a movie at 24 frames per second, that's a great opportunity for it to do the 24 hertz. And if you're doing a game or something, then it makes more sense to switch to the 90 hertz. So even though this is not a performance powerhouse, I did run a benchmark on it using Cinebench 24 just to see kind of where the performance was. And it's a little bit tricky to gauge performance on this, but in Cinebench 24, I got about 400-ish multi-core and about 100, I believe, for single core, which is not mind-blowing. But that's the thing that I want to note about this is that because this has no fan, it has no active cooling, it is all passively cooled. And so that means a bit like an iPad. So that means that there's no way for it to remove the heat other than just air blowing across the metal chassis and dissipating into the air essentially. And so what that means is if you are looking at this device in like a Best Buy, Walmart, etc., and you see another device with a Snapdragon X Plus CPU, you might think, oh well, they'll have the same performance. So all I have to do is just worry about form factor. All I have to do is worry if I want a laptop or a tablet like this, or what have you. But that's not quite the case because this can perform about double the multi-core performance or so with a higher wattage being delivered to the actual CPU, in this case, the Snapdragon CPU. To prove my point about how this Snapdragon CPU is definitely power limited and therefore performance limited, I actually put the entire tablet into my refrigerator and then ran Cinebench again. And the score in multi-core is a massive improvement from 400 multi-core to about 546. So clearly, it's not the CPU that's inherently non-performant, although it's not mind-blowing either. It's the fact that the device does not have an active fan. So just be aware, not every device with the same chip is going to have the same performance. On the note of the CPU performance, the device appeared to be using about 24 watts or so for the CPU during the Cinebench stress test. So that suggests that it is not using anywhere near the 55 or so watts that the same chip can use in another chassis. In the box, you get the tablet itself. It does not come with the stylus. It does not come with the Surface keyboard, the keyboard that attaches to the bottom and connects to those pogo pins. That does not come with the device. It comes with a relatively basic Type-C to Type-C charging cable. Unfortunately, it does not come with a actual charging brick, and that's really annoying. Obviously, Apple largely started that trend of not including stuff and charging you more for it, and a lot of other companies, unfortunately, have followed suit. And no, I don't think it helps the environment very much because if you have to order another charging accessory, that's just more packaging on top of the packaging that you already have. And if you look at something like this is a 65 watt Insignia charger. So this is more than powerful enough to charge something like this and to keep it charged during continuous work. And you can see it is very, very small and it is Type C. Something like this could come with a device like this and it would be more than able to fit in the box. And companies like Microsoft, Apple, and more just don't do it. They just refuse to offer it. This is the webcam on the Surface Pro device. You can hear the audio coming straight through the tablet's speakers, the tablet's microphones, and let me know if you think it's any good. You can also let me know about the image quality. It does look a little soft in terms of the image, but the dynamic range appears to be solid, not exceptional, but maybe around 10, 11 stops or so, which is a lot better than things used to be. I remember back when Microsoft had the best webcams on their devices, including like the Surface laptop, and now a lot of other companies have finally caught up. And so now Microsoft's webcam is good, but nothing exceptional. It's just kind of a webcam like a lot of the other ones. But let me know in the comments what you think of this webcam. The BIOS on this thing is extremely bare bones, so there's really not much to say about it at all. You can see here in these photos what the BIOS settings contain, and there is jack all that you can do in the BIOS here, which is understandable, but it is just worth noting for those of you who like to tinker, like to mess with performance settings. There's really nothing except basically an administrator password and time of date you can change in the BIOS. I have tested both the screen brightness and the speaker. The speaker is pretty good, up to about 70% volume. Beyond that, it gets a little bit muffled and tinny. And this device has very little bass, which you can probably expect, but I mention it because the iPads, being around the same size, do have pretty solid bass. So Microsoft just is not prioritizing audio quality and fidelity with something like this. And as I've alluded to already, it doesn't have a headphone jack, which is another thing that Apple to some extent started and Dell continued with their XPS 13. It's really obnoxious. Headphone jacks don't take up that much space. And even if they do, they need to be there because they're an analog they're an analog input as opposed to an electronic or digital input like a Type-C port or even an HDMI. So it's really important for them to be on here. And so if you really need to plug in constantly, you'll need to either buy Type-C headphones or you'll need to buy Bluetooth headphones, which is not for everyone. It is. I don't even want to say it's the way of the future because I think that high quality analog audio is still extremely popular. So I really don't know that's really the way of the future, but it is certainly something a lot of manufacturers are doing. Overall, I think this device is solid. It feels really good in the hand. It has a fairly good build quality, I would say. The hinge is really robust. It folds out to about right there. So, it goes a little bit further than that. So if you're going to be doing art, and I don't know if I would use this for professional art, but for hobby art, I would definitely consider it. If you're going to be right about there, you can see that it goes almost flat, which is good for note taking, which is why I recommend it for college students. And also, college students oftentimes can get discounts on products like this, so that's another reason to consider it. This device has a pretty good sized battery. I'm getting about 5.5 hours or so of battery life on this, but that's because I like to have the display maxed out of brightness to the 100%. If you have it lower than that, you can easily get upwards of 8 to 10 hours of battery life with this thing, particularly for light use. If you try to do anything crazy like 3D animation or whatever, your results will vary wildly. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for getting me to 1,000 subscribers. Again, it's very difficult to do stuff like this due to the cost. It's prohibitively expensive to purchase technology on a constant basis. Yeah, there are some other clever things that I can do. I can review things that are less expensive, but ultimately, I'm gonna need support from the viewers until I get to a point where companies like HP, Dell, etc., are just sending me stuff to review. So if you would be interested in supporting me on a Patreon platform, I do not have one right now, but I'm asking if any of you would be interested in that. Would you be interested in supporting me so that I can do more crazy stuff? I can build desktop PCs and take things apart and do more analysis and do a lot of just really cool and fun things, particularly with more workstation hardware. I'm not big into gaming, but I do like workstations. So let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in supporting a Patreon style page, and let me know what you think of the Surface Pro.